Hello, people of the internet, friends, family, YouTube, Facebook, wherever this video might go. I'm here to tell you a little bit of a story, and I hope other people who've gone through this situation with this company will be encouraged to make a video themselves talking about their experience and what had happened to them. And I hope more people will do that, because a company this large, which does this all the time, should not be allowed to get away with it. And we need to show them as a workforce that we have a voice and we are actual people and we aren't just trash. The company I'm talking about is Walmart. In particular, the store I'm talking about is the store off of 440 Euclid, Anaheim, California, at the Anaheim Plaza, right off the 5 freeway. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. Those of you who do, you will understand what I'm talking about. During my time working at this company, I had been there for only 4 months. When I had taken the job, I took it because I knew it was only going to be a seasonal job, and that's what I was looking for. I just needed a resume filler and nothing more than that. And unfortunately, I can't even use them as that now, considering recent circumstances, which will soon be explained. During the 4 months that I worked for them, on September 18th, I was approached by my manager, Johnny. And I will say his name because I don't care. They're all scum-sucking shitlords as far as they're considered. And they are the worst scum of the fucking earth. Every single one of them is a liar. And if you ever see them at that store and they promise you something, know they are lying to your face. He asked me to go over to another store, a different Walmart store. It was a Walmart market that was doing a bit of a project, a modular change. For those of you who work in the retail world, you know what that is. For those of you who work for Walmart, you're probably sighing right now because you do know what kind of work it does entail. A modular change, for those of you who don't know, is when you change up certain sections of a store or you update them, you change prices, do things like that. Basically, maintenance in the store. I know that sounds crazy. A lot of stores just leave shit the same until they remodel the whole store. But Walmart doesn't want to pay money for that. They don't like giving money for any reason that they can help. So part of the problem is when you go to a different store, you have to get paperwork and signatures, and you have to have a timesheet filled out when you get back, and that you have to sit down with a salary member of management. You cannot do it yourself as an hourly paid employee. It has to be a salary member of management, and they have to sign it and they have to approve it. When I got back, not only was I told that we will not be able to get to you, Mr. Bradley, at this time, but we are very busy setting up for the coming seasons that are going to be hitting us. Black Friday's right around the corner, Christmas is coming up, all that bullshit, yada yada yada. Just excuses. There's 3 managers where I work who are on duty at night, generally speaking. There's 2 main managers, and then there is a assistant manager who's normally around the back helping to direct things. Now, what ended up happening is this went on for 2 months that I was given this excuse, until finally one night they were telling me, we don't understand what you're talking about. We never sent you to another store. This never happened. Even though I had the paperwork in my hands and I was telling them, yes, you did. This is signed by the managers at that store. You just need to sit down and approve the hours that I worked there. They started telling me that I had to go back to that store to do this. Well, here's problem number 1, and I know this because I have family members who work in a corporate area who are salary paid employees who hire and fire people, who discipline and do payroll. When you work with a large corporate business, individual stores don't make your fucking hours, okay? That is done by somebody. Corporate has come into the store in the morning to do that paperwork for the employees. There's normally 3 to 4 of them, and they're old ladies. They're very nice. who come to our store and do this. They're also in charge of giving people supplies like box cutters and things like that, new blades for the box cutters, specialty supplies that you have to request through them. Nobody else is allowed to give it, only they are. They're the only ones who are permitted to do that. But they are normally in there handling part of the payroll, and they are from the corporate offices. Okay? So, first off, you're fucking full of shit when you tell me I have to go back to that store and have them pay me out. That's a load of shit. So, yes, I am understandably pissed off. I'm getting screwed out of $200 here of hard work. Okay? So, that's only part of the story. On December 1st, 2015, I ended up getting in an argument with my manager BJ over this. I had told him, he came to me and requested that I stay an extra 30 minutes before going on to my lunch, which there's problems with that too, which I'll explain eventually in this video. I had told him, no, I'm not going to stay an extra 30 minutes because Sam will be coming back from his lunch to be able to help you, and we have to do our breaks on timing because while he goes on his break, I stay to continue working so we don't back up and, well, we can't keep up. So I told him I'm not going to do that. Not only that, but you still owe me $200. You haven't paid me for work I've done, which I'm required to be paid by fucking federal law, you assholes. And he told me, no, you're going to do this or I'm going to write you up and it will be your final write-up, which you will be fired. I said, go ahead and fucking fire me. I don't care anymore. You people are fucking scum. You're scum-sucking shitlords. Fuck you. I'm not staying late. I'm not putting in extra 15 minutes. I'm not staying 30 minutes until I go on my goddamn lunch. I mean, we're already approaching the 5th hour. I have to go on my lunch by law, or else you guys are going to get a fine. You know, I don't understand how hard that is for this asshole to understand. You know, like, you want to go pay like a $3,000-$4,000 fucking fine because you guys have over 400 plus employees at at one location? Go ahead. That is a California standard fine that they have to pay for having this many employees. There should be no excuse to have that kind of overtime. They will fine a company for that, okay? And it's a lot of money. And this idiot isn't understanding that, which I'm trying to point out to him. Not only that, there's another employee who will be returning the second I go on my lunch that he can have help him. He doesn't want to do that either. So I've already given him his 2 options. He doesn't want to freaking take them. Fuck you, fire me. I don't care. Now, my final write-up? Yeah, that is true. I ended up getting so incredibly sick at work. I ended up developing pneumonia while I was at work. My sinuses clogged up so bad that I lost my hearing and I started having very bad dizzy spells. By the way, that night I was supposed to be operating a propane-powered floor buffer. I don't think it's a very good idea to have an employee who is too sick to even stand up straight be operating a propane-powered floor fucking buffer, you assholes. So yes, I took it upon myself to clock out and leave work because I was not in a condition to continue staying at work. Now, for those of you who don't know, Walmart requires you to try and make it till lunch. If not, you get a bunch of write-ups that basically screw you permanently for at least 12 months. I was a seasonal employee, so it didn't fucking matter. And I didn't care anymore. You guys were supposed to be a resume filler, and that was it. This is not a career choice. It's only here to show in my resume. Yes, I know how to do this stuff if I needed a job in janitorial or stocking later in life. But, all that aside, when I came back from that, I got a bunch of write-ups, and basically, December 1st, I got fired for getting in my manager's face about my missing pay, which is bullshit. I ended up getting angry, and instead of punching him in the face, which I now regret, I should have punched him in the face, because it would have done a lot more good, and at least I would have felt better, and not really cared about what's going on right now. I ended up flipping a table instead of punching him in the face. And I stormed out and I started calling all these people a bunch of liars and shitbags and telling customers not to fucking shop here. And I threw a fucking fit. I had another employee tackle me to the ground and try and wrestle with me. Another manager who had no clue any of this had gone on came running up and broke it up, and I got up and I kept walking, calling them fucking scum suckers and just shitbags and liars and every word I could fucking think of. I was angry as hell. They ended up calling the police on me and a bunch of shit like that, and they wanted to press charges for property damage because of the table I flipped, which happened to ruin some papers they had on there for flyers for an event that they were doing, which the police told him, you're full of shit. Like, and he has a way better point than you guys do. You're not paying him, which is against the law. They refused to even do any paperwork and left, and I went home. Well, I came back on December 8th to pick up my 2 weeks of pay, which I did, and it turned out they didn't even know I had been fired. None of the managers that night had actually filed that paperwork because they couldn't. What they did was against the law. You can't fucking fire someone because they're angry at you that you quit paying them. You can't, have somebody work for free. It's against the law. Especially if you're a company that big. So they didn't know that I'd been fired. They told me, well, Mr. Bradley, we see you've missed several days. Like, if you have a doctor's note or whatever, we'll do our best to work through it. And, we don't want you to lose your job. Like, you work hard, blah, 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 all that bullshit that they have to say, make you feel better so you don't sue. But I basically told them, no, I'm not going to fucking come back. You fired me. They were like, we never did anything. We've never seen a paperwork or no one's told us. And I told them, yeah, BJ, your fucking overnight manager told me I was fired. It was a big thing. The police came, wrestled, blah, 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 flipped a table, screamed at people. It was bad. Like, you guys fucking fired me, and you refusing to pay me. They continue to deny that that never happened. So, essentially, they wrote down that I came in on that day I picked up my check and quit. So, that's a load of shit. I came back, and they told me they were going to mail my final paycheck out to me because they were saying, oh, well, you're quitting voluntarily. We're gonna take this as you're quitting if you're not gonna come back to work. I said, fine, fucking take it how you want, but you guys fired me, so whatever you want to fucking say. And they told me they'd mail my final paycheck. I told them I'd gladly appreciate that because I don't want to come back here. I don't ever want to see this store again, understandably. Well, that never happened. I had to come back on December 22nd to pick up my final paycheck, which I have right over here. So let me show you this. Up at the very top here, the numbers are backwards because I'm using the front camera on my phone. But those of you who are dyslexic will be able to read this easily. Up at the top, there's CA, California, number 0986. And well, you get the point. Right here is my date of birth, 11/86. Yes, I am almost 30 fucking years old. Those numbers are written by a police officer, not just any officer, but a fraud agent. That's right. When I was given my final paycheck, this isn't a real paycheck. These numbers you see at the bottom here, these are not real. They're not to a real account. None of these numbers line up with anything. I almost got arrested for trying to cash my final fucking paycheck. $200 more that I'm being frauded out of. And this is missing $100. This is supposed to be a $300 paycheck. So that's $560 that these people are refusing to pay me that I worked for. And I actually have proof of it in a fraud check, numbers written by an officer, all of that. I have proof of it. Now, to the point, I made a claim, and please listen to the actual date and times here. I made a claim around December 15th for unemployment to receive unemployment. I had worked there long enough to be able to qualify. I had made enough money at that job to be able to qualify, so I am entitled to this money by law. So, notice I said I made this claim on December 15th. I know this because I had family come down who needed to have a dental operation around that time. You are not eligible to receive benefits under California Unemployment Insurance Code Section 1256, beginning 11/29/15. Okay, let me point this out to you. How could I have filled out for unemployment on November 29th when I was fired on December 1st? And they didn't officially do the paperwork until around December 8th or 6th, saying that I voluntarily quit, which I was fired. And in this, Walmart is claiming that I didn't even work for them long enough to earn $565, which means I'm not eligible for unemployment. That's right, you have to work at a place long enough to make over $565 to claim unemployment. Walmart is saying that in the 4 months I worked for them, that I didn't even make that much money working for them, even though I worked 46 plus hours. Notice at the beginning of this, towards the beginning of this video, I said I was a part-time seasonal employee. Part-time, if you work over 36 hours, I believe it is, you are entitled to overtime pay because you're not a full-time employee, especially if it happens for a solid month. So, one, that's pay I never got for working overtime. Okay? It's a hell of a lot more than $565 that these people owe me. It's a hell of a lot more than that. I figure it's $1,500 that these assholes owe me. When I started working for them, I was giving an 8-hour schedule, which, by the way, they never gave me a full 8 hours. They started complaining that they didn't have enough money to pay for 400 employees, so they started making us wait 15 minutes before clocking in. Even though we were on the schedule to start at 10, they would make us wait 15 minutes. They would make us take an hour-long break, which by law in California, you have to take a 30-minute break before the 5th hour of working. Now, if you work over 8 hours in the state of California, you are entitled to have an hour-long break. If you work under 8 hours, you are entitled to have a 30-minute break. Walmart would make us take an hour because they couldn't afford that extra 30 minutes of pay. So I also figured that's 30 fucking minutes I'm missing in pay. They asked me numerous times to stay at 15 to 30 and sometimes an hour after work for overtime because employees would call out. By the way, I was part of the stocking team and I had been upgraded into the maintenance team, but they still kept me doing stocking work. I had lost over 40 pounds working there because the job was very hard and very physical. I worked my ass off. I have clothing with permanent sweat stains on it to prove that. So that's another thing. The fact that they're lying about the times and dates that I applied for unemployment, which Walmart is saying that. I have a piece of paper here for when that the EDD sent me for the official times and date. And the official date that my paperwork was processed and they started my claim against Walmart was December 25th, not November 29th, okay? So I just want to point that out, they're full of fucking shit. That's lie number 3 or 4 I've caught them in. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say or do here. I mean, a lot of people would be very pissed off in this scenario, but I'm kind of over it at this point. My working career has been kind of companies like this. The first company I worked for was Albertsons Groceries. They are going out of business. The one I worked at is out of business. They are no longer a company. That store is gone. They were going to put in a Henry's, but Henry's decided to go somewhere else because that area gets low business. I then worked for Blockbuster. I don't need to tell you the story about Blockbuster. Everybody knows about the story of Blockbuster and what happened. Well, I mean, if you don't, they're out of business. The security company I worked at for many, many years ended up doing some pretty stupid things that were going to cause them to go out of business too, and they are no longer in business. They were one of the largest security companies in America, and they were, I think, fourth or fifth internationally. They were a pretty large company before fraud and a bunch of other things about not paying their taxes on time or whatever came to bite them in the ass. They went out of business. I left before that and started training for truck driving. When I was in truck driving, I constantly drove products back and forth for Swift Transportation. Part of Swift was to pick up a lot of stuff from Walmart and move their stuff across the country to different stores and different holding facilities, third-party holding facilities, like EFI, companies like that run big warehouses that package individual packages to go to each individual Walmart for what products they need at that specific store at that time. So, I mean, I've dealt with Walmart for many years before I even started working for them. And then when I started working for them, things were pretty bad. On top of all that crap that they had put me through in the first place, not wanting to pay me, making up bullshit lies and accusations to the EDD and the Work and Labor Board to keep me from claiming the money that is rightfully mine and to keep me from even getting my unemployment that is rightfully mine that I fucking paid into, because every last single person at that store is a scum-sucking shitlord who will double-cross you at a moment's notice. They, they've done all of this. But it was a very hostile work environment. The clothing I'm wearing right now, I don't know how many of you can really tell that well, but I mean, pretty nice jacket. I mean, I'm not at work right now. It's my normal clothing I wear outside of work. I was constantly called an ISIS member because of this clothing. Because I'm wearing, yes, Gorillaz. The Gorillaz, the band, is an ISIS, thing. If you didn't know, it means terrorists now. It doesn't mean music. It doesn't mean a great band. It means terrorists now. I was called an ISIS member. I was called a faggot constantly because I am a homosexual. One of the people I worked with, Zachary, who is a male, used to be a female at one point in his life. And he has had the surgery and he's taken, testosterone and all that stuff that's been prescribed to him to make him have a deeper voice and grow facial hair and all of that. And they continue to refer to him as Susan. And they don't call him Susan, they call him Susan, like in a demeaning way, like we know you were born a female and what you're doing is wrong. I mean, there was constant drug use at work. Several of the employees I worked with had been caught using needles during lunch around back of the store, shooting up heroin. We had caught a couple employees in the bathroom using heroin. These same employees, they also sold drugs to other employees there. They manufactured and sold drugs because Walmart doesn't pay them enough. I only know this because a couple of them had offered to sell me marijuana while I was working there. I do not smoke marijuana or approve of that kind of stuff, but they had attempted to try and sell me marijuana because the way I dress and the music I listen to is stuff that, people who like marijuana really accept that. I mean, marijuana does some great things for a lot of people out there medically, but I've been there and done that when I was much younger. Kind of fucking over that shit now, I'm almost 30, time to grow up. I quit that shit somewhere in my early 20s. I'd rather have a job and money and shit like that than waste all my time being a fucking pot smoking loser. That's the truth. But they were selling drugs to make money. one of our jobs as on the maintenance team is to go out in the parking lot and pick up the trash. Well, we couldn't even do a lot of that because there were so many dirty needles in the parking lot. And I'll be damned if I'm going to prick myself with some fucking asshole's dirty needle who doesn't even have the common courtesy to dispose of it properly, and maybe get a disease he has and end my fucking life early. For fucking minimum wage? Are you kidding me? I'm not going to do that shit. Fuck you. It's bullshit, man. Like, you guys should really, like, this is why so many 24-hour Walmarts in California have closed down, is because they attract people like this. They attract drug users. For God's sake, we had an encampment of homeless people in our parking lot. They had a circle of vans with tents set up in the middle. They had sheets going across to each van through the open doors so they could go through the vans without getting wet if it rained. You know, we had several employees who sleep in the parking lot in their cars. And just for those of you who might be watching who are a manager or work at a store or have, you know, some kind of corporate duty at a store, and you see your fucking employees sleeping in the damn parking lot of your store because you can't even pay them enough to get a home or an apartment, like, you should, like, feel fucking ashamed of yourself in the first place. It's unacceptable. This kind of stuff is not acceptable in America. Especially in a world where I'm talking to you through a fucking space phone. Cell phones were on fucking Star Trek, for God's sake. Like, we are living in the future. We have a level of technology where this kind of desperation shouldn't even exist in the human species. We have the technology, the power, and to end this kind of stuff. You know, when companies like McDonald's are offering $10 an hour and they're looking to raise their minimum wage for their employees because they're seeing that it's really hard for people to get by now with the rising costs of just day-to-day living. I mean, for fuck's sake, McDonald's offers training programs to become a regional manager. They offer programs and financial assistance. You heard me, financial assistance to even go out and buy your own McDonald's franchise to make money off of. Okay? Starbucks, they're looking to be raising their employees to $13 an hour soon. And in some states where they've already talked about and strongly are suggesting the minimum wage will go up to 15, they've already done it. Starbucks is looking to raise their minimum pay to their employees because they see it's not right how hard people have to struggle. And people who live in California, you know this struggle every goddamn day. Every day you know how hard it is to live here. Every day when you go back home to your $1,800 fucking a month apartment that's barely big enough for you and the like 4 or 5 other people you share it with, you know this struggle every goddamn day. There's states and other places in America that you can work a minimum wage job, be able to afford a car, and pay for a fucking apartment with sharing with 2 people, and live at least comfortable. At least knowing the fact that if you lose your job, you saved enough money for a couple months of rent's pay. You know, and shit like shit like this doesn't happen in California. I'm very lucky and very privileged to have a family that I have that is so loving, trusting, and willing to take me in my time of need until I can get back on my feet. But, you know, this is bullshit. And any of you who've gone through this crap with Walmart, I urge you to make a video. I urge you to use your voice and talk out. Post it to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want to. It's time for America, our workforce, to stand up and fight against corporations like this. Corporations who get away with literally screwing people. And I'll repeat this for those of you who are skipping to the end of a video, because a lot of people do. I never filed for unemployment on November 29th. I was still working at that job up till December 1st. So I don't know how I could apply for it then. That's Walmart's claim, by the way. This is Walmart saying this. I don't know, like it's right down around here. You can probably see the date somewhere in there. They're saying that on November 29th that I filed my unemployment claim. Well, that's bullshit because I was still working at that store up until December 1st when I was fired. I did not quit. You fucking fired me, you assholes. Second off, earlier in the video, the fake check with the numbers written down by a fraud officer, a fraud investigating officer, by police. They wanted to arrest me because this check is not real. This check is from Walmart. This is my final paycheck, which is $100 short. You know, I don't know what other proof that I would need to show that these people are fucking scum-sucking shitlords. They are trying to keep me from getting my unemployment. They're even they're going as far to say that I didn't even make enough money to claim unemployment. That I only worked for them for a couple days. I worked for them for 4 months. I worked well over 46 hours that they don't want to pay the overtime for. I mean, you know, I hope this video helps some people. I hope you realize that you're not alone. There are other people who get messed up by a company like this. There are other people who get taken advantage of. You're not alone. I'm more or less making this video to vent my frustration. That's kind of what's going on here. I'm not going to fight them anymore. I don't have the money to hire a team of lawyers like they do. I don't have any of that kind of money. I mean, I can only hope enough people would come together, if that's possible, if we make a community and a strong enough voice that we can speak out against Walmart and we can make a class action lawsuit as a team against these people to get the money that we are owed. That's my only hope of ever fighting them, because the government is obviously hiring people who are too fucking stupid to look through the taxes that I paid over the last 4 months to see, yeah, he's worked there for over 4 months. Yes, he made over $556. Yes, he has a rightful claim to this money. They're too fucking stupid to hire people who can look at that stuff and go, yeah, this company's lying. And I can tell you why, because they pay a lot of money in taxes, and America wants their taxes. They want their taxes so they can spend more on stupid shit that we don't need. Like I said, I hope this video helps some of you. It's helped me vent some frustrations. Have a good day.